a hugging Sam. I think this is the first time I've answered a question from you. Has a very interesting question. Do you have any tips for dealing with the aftermath of a job that went bad that you didn't have that much influence over? I worked on a project at a company as someone in a junior position that I predicted would go bad if approach A was chosen, but nobody listened to me. Approach A was chosen and my predictions came true. However, later at a performance review, I caught flack for the fact that the project flopped. Any tips, both practical and emotional, would be very appreciated. Oh man, yeah. Look, when you're executing stuff for other people, even when you can see the disaster coming, sometimes your supervisor's going to tell you that you got to do that. And that is a tough one. That is a tough one. At the same time, at one of the lowest points in my life professionally, where I had screwed things up so badly, I lost a friend. I called my dad in the midst of this crisis. And I said, I don't know what to do. I can't abide how I behaved in this situation. I really, really messed up. I am so sad and ashamed, and I lost this friend. What do I do? And he said, well, there's nothing you can do about the friendship. That's gonna go its own course. You know, you can say you're sorry and understand that that's also meaningless given that it's already happened. He said, the only thing you can do is resolve not to do that again. You can take a look into yourself and see the things that led to this and resolve to pay attention to that so that the next time the situation arises, it doesn't go the same way. And that is my main piece of advice about the aftermath of a job that went bad. And in the first and young part of your working career, that's gonna happen. You're gonna build stuff you think is beautiful and your supervisor's gonna go, and you're gonna have to change it and make it less beautiful. I've totally had that. This is where the serenity prayer comes in, right? Give me the grace to know the things I can change and the things that I cannot change, and the wisdom to know the difference between those two things. At the young part of your career, you have almost no control. And so it is great to keep remembering that. You don't have control, so you don't have to take that lack of control personally because it's built right in. The other one is that, like, sometimes a job's gonna go and people are gonna end that job with an opinion of you and you can't change that. I had a theater show I was doing for a wonderful performance artist named Annie Dole back in the early 90s at Project Artaud, which was an old soup canning factory with this huge 40-foot tall warehouse room, beautiful theater space. And we did this big multimedia show with a whole bunch of different art and artists and lights and music. And for the morning of the loadout, which was a Sunday morning, I got food poisoning. And I got that food poisoning that you can't move 6 feet without throwing up for like a day. I was, you know, where you're just drinking water to have something for your, something to throw up. I'm sorry for being so graphic, but it was like the worst kind of food poisoning. I was completely debilitated. I could not go to the loadout. Now, when you are a theater person, the loadout is like the thing you don't miss. You don't miss the loadout. You are a piece of crap if you miss the loadout. I had to call Larry Ackerman was my supervisor, a lovely man. Larry Ackerman, I had to call him and tell him I had food poisoning, and he did not believe me. I believe to this day, he probably still doesn't believe me. There's nothing I was gonna do. What am I gonna try and change his mind? I mean, I don't think there's a high percentage in that. I think once you start to try and do that, yeah, that person's already made that call. I have one more story about this, which is, in the early days of Uber in San Francisco, all Uber drivers seemed to hail from Eastern Europe and thereabouts. It's just, and men. It seemed like all Uber drivers were Eastern European men. And I was taking an Uber and I got picked up by a woman, which was surprising, literally anomalous in my experience. And we had a quiet ride to my house, and as I got out, I said, I cannot remember my exact words, but I will tell you that I said something along the lines of, it was nice to have a woman Uber driver. I was trying to communicate that sentiment. However, what came out of my mouth dropped like a lead weight because it sounded creepy. I can't remember why or how it sounded creepy, but whatever my word choice was, when it came out, it was like this lead fish of a comment. And I saw her react to it like that, and I heard me, and I was like, this woman's just gonna go on with her life thinking I'm a creep, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that's part of that, like that Buddhist stance of like, this is what's happening. That's gonna happen. I can't change that. One of my sons, Think Two, was a counselor at a remote learning center over COVID for kids who didn't have computers at home to do Zoom schooling. And they were managing all different grades at this facility he was working at. And the teachers and supervisors had a great mnemonic called Q-tip, which was quit taking it personally. And this is my biggest bit of advice, emotional advice, Hug and Sam. On a practical, you said, do you have advice, practical and emotional? On a practical sense, yes, I think take note of the circumstances that led to the disaster you are now in the aftermath of, and see what you can change. Can you notice a job interview later that might be the same kind of workplace and then not take that job? Those are that's the practical thing. Note the circumstances, and in the future, as you have more control professionally, maybe some of the control you have can ameliorate that kind of issue. On the emotional front, it's about taking it personally, because when you execute something creatively in front of you, it is by definition a personal exercise. You are doing it. You're pouring your stuff into the narrative of this spaceship wing or this, model city. And when someone comes along and makes you do it in a way that you didn't like, that's rough, but that's work. That's also work. That's why we often called working on movies that were bad turd polishing, because we're working really hard making something ugly, because that's the design. Have you ever had El Zuterino asks, have you ever had a client that's kind of annoying, but somehow doesn't annoy you enough to drop them? Oh yeah, all the time, totally. Annoying isn't enough of a reason to get rid of a client. Look, clients are weird. You are trying to execute something for somebody else. They may not know exactly what they want. And they can be all sorts of, humans are weird. Working with them is weird. I've totally had clients that are annoying. Oh yeah, but somehow, look, annoy you enough to drop them. I mean, that's a late career luxury. Having clients that are annoying enough for you to drop them. I think that's a late career luxury. In the beginning of your career, you just got to take a lot of the stuff. Oh, Xtafa asks a question. They've set up a hypothetical. Say you're on your last day, your final day, your product is due tomorrow, your machine/tool breaks, and you do not have a replacement. How do you approach the client without it seeming like an excuse? Well, if you are revealing that a deadline can't be met. So I have a wonderful story about this, and it's one of my first days working in special effects. I am like 2 months into working in commercial special effects. It's the early 90s, and Jamie Heineman is my boss and my supervisor. We are doing a commercial in which Jamie has spent 2 days building this little spring-loaded gag that has to work, because we're shooting something like 10 commercials that day, and only one of them is this gag. And just before we're getting ready to do this commercial, the gag fails utterly. Like, it disintegrates. There is no recovering this. It is now just a non-functioning thing. And I watched that happen. I thought to myself, oh, that is really bad. And I watched Jamie go to the director and say, the prop has self-destructed. Here are the options that I can execute for you. Solution one, I can deliver in an hour and it'll get you this. You won't get that shot, but you will get this shot, and this is what you're likely to end up with. Solution two will take 3 hours. You'll get these sets of shots, but you won't get these sets of shots. Solution three, I can deliver tomorrow morning and you would get these sets of shots and not these shots. And the director was like, I'll take option B. And we executed option B. The thing that I love about a film set is there's almost no time and space for recriminations. Don't get me wrong. There are supervisors in the film industry who will find the time and space. But for the most part, when you screw up on a film set, your supervisor will be like, you screwed up. All right, let's go to lunch. And then no one talks about it again. This doesn't need to be talked about again. Mistakes happen. That's fine. You need to know when they've happened. But the unsentimentality of that and the lack of blame in there is really, what is happening here? Why can't I? Photos? No? Okay. I see. So sorry, I lost my train of thought for just a second. So, watching Jamie lay out these options, at that point, there's no point to a discussion about who's at fault or why I'm angry. This film crew costs hundreds of dollars per second. We have to execute. And that's the moment I fell in love with the film industry. That is the moment I fell in love with the film industry because I loved the simplicity of that. This has failed utterly. Here are our options in front of us. And Jamie was also giving this with all of this institutional knowledge. What does a director want to know? What I'm going to get versus what I thought I was going to get. How long it will take, how much it will cost. He was delivering all of that. Again, there's no need for recriminations at that point. They could certainly happen later, but in the moment, they're unnecessary. And I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to support us even further, you can by becoming a tested member. Details are, of course, below, but it includes all sorts of perks, and we're building them all the time. You get advanced word and behind-the-scenes photos of some of our projects. Questions, you get to ask direct questions during my live streams, and we have some members-only videos, including the Adam real-time series of unbroken, unedited shots of me working here in the shop. They are weirdly meditative. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you on the next one.